Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. Recently, two different EPs were dropped by two different bands that I wish to review. We have the Spiritbox EP Rotoscope, which is only about 3 tracks long, and the Underworld EP by Mirelore, which is only 4 tracks long. So, instead of doing two really short videos for each one, I thought I would compile both EPs into a double EP episode and just go from there. So without further ado, we will be moving on to the Spiritbox review first, very shortly. But other than this, I will be having some other album reviews coming out soon. I just need to decide what one I will be doing. And I will be planning on getting another episode of the 6-song roundup out for you soon, hopefully. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into this. So, starting off, we have track number 1, the title track, Rotoscope, which clocks in at about 3 minutes and 36 seconds long. So, the first track, it's one of 3, as I've said before, and it has an enjoyable groove and bounce to it, and has almost like a slightly dance-esque influence. The chorus is rather catchy, with cleans being used on it, and they are fairly soft cleans. And then towards the middle part of the song, we get the growls and the screams from Courtney, and it quickly switches up into a chorus again, that like clean chorus, and then just after that we get a classic bridge breakdown chorus sort of format to wrap up the opening track. So from there we move on to track number 2, Sew Me Up, which is 3 minutes and 27 seconds long. And from my understanding, all 3 of these tracks on this album, or this EP, sorry, kind of make one long track, but were split up into 3 separate tracks. So, yeah. But once again, this track has a great groove to it. The drums and guitar really stand out throughout this one. The chorus, again, is clean, catchy, and, you know, this track is actually a fully clean sung track, but it's good nonetheless. That doesn't detract from the song. I think it's just a case of, you know, Spiritbox being Spiritbox are showing what they can do. They're like, you know, they can do the growls, you know, they can do the cleans, but they want to just showcase a little bit of everything every time. So it's not a bad track, definitely a good midpoint. But from there we move on to the final track on this EP, which is called Hysteria, which is, I think, the longest track of them all, which clocks in at just under 4 minutes. So it's like 3 minutes 45, I think. And this is actually my personal favourite track on the EP. The singing is smooth, the drums and guitar work are still super well done and, you know, stand out very well. The lyrics are interesting as well if you read along to it, not to mention the latter part of the track where there is a solid breakdown and it just goes quite heavy towards the end of the track, which was fucking sick. And I think Courtney's voice sounded especially good on this one. Compared to the other tracks, it just felt a little bit more polished and a little bit more Spiritbox than the other 2. But that's not to say that the others were bad. So, moving on now, we will be looking at the Mirelore Underworld EP. So, after only having one album back in 2018, vocalist Dan Watson focused his sights on Enterprise Earth, which was his main band, until he unfortunately parted ways with them earlier this year, 2022. He has since been replaced by a new vocalist, and they have got one song out with him, which I will be reviewing in a 6-song roundup later down the line. And he then announced that he'd be focusing his efforts on this project and gave us a 4-track EP that would showcase what the band would sound like moving forward. And this EP started with track number 1, and the song is called Shadows Have Eyes, and it is 5 minutes and 1 second long. So, this track starts very slowly, very eerily, with an instrumental that honestly wouldn't go amiss in a paranormal, spooky horror film. It's like very soft, almost haunting music with like this floaty female disembodied voice like humming over it, and it is super ambient. But then that ambience is just fucking cracked with a hammer, and the vibe is just completely different. All hell breaks loose, things go up in flames. And this is about halfway into the track that this actually happens. The drums are quick on the beat, they fucking blasting away. It is some very skilled drum work, actually. It has an extremely blackened vibe to it, like this whole EP does, with crushing vocals from Dan, as you would expect if you were, familiar with his previous works. There is a little hint at some clean singing near the end of the track, which he has been experimenting with a lot more recently with like Enterprise Earth's last album, The Chosen, before he departed with them. And that will be carrying on into this project by the looks of it. So moving on from that, we have track number 2, which is Sulfuric Nullity, which is a shorter track at 4 minutes and 7 seconds long. But with this being a shorter track, he is going balls to the wall at the word go. Crushing drums, crushing vocals, sick low-key guitar tricks. The lyrics are interesting as well if you read along to it. And this is just a full fucking throttle, track. There's this little weird talking skit sample sort of thing near the end, which I couldn't work out what was being said or if it really needed to be there. But other than that, super solid track, honestly. So, moving on to track number 3 now. This is Ashen Memories, which is actually one of the shortest, I think actually it is the shortest track on the EP, which clocks in at about 3 minutes and 13 seconds, I believe. And it was actually sorry, I got itchy nose. It is actually the first single of the EP that they released. It has much more cleans than the previous material. The first 2 tracks, there was like one little hint in it, and that was about it. Whereas this is a predominantly clean chorus. The vocals do stay heavy for the verses though, and the solid drum guitar skills stay as well. But the cleans aren't too bad for the chorus. They don't seem forced, they don't seem synthetic. They do seem like they have a purpose and they are sung that way for a specific reason. Which I'm sure if you looked into it, Dan probably has said somewhere, something about that, because he is very open with how he writes and how it's all led by spirituality, or like thinking that he's like been given a purpose to write a certain thing and just letting the songs write themselves sort of stuff. It's a very peculiar way of going about it, but I can kind of understand where he's coming from at that point. And then from there we move on to the 4th and final track, which is called Black Box, which is 3 minutes and 25 seconds long, and apparently this track is a sequel to the track on their 2018 album Morrow Leech. The track specifically, apparently, that they are sequeling is called The End Is Near. And this one starts with some cleans that kind of reverberate around like this really quiet music, and it's almost haunting, almost creepy, very strange. But then the music picks up and we quickly swap back to Dan's screaming again. before that completely cuts out. It goes almost silent with like that weird haunting eerie music, and then the cleans come back again. Lyrically, it's a very compact track. There's like 4 verses throughout the entire thing. And it may be the one song on this EP that I am still unsure on. Every time I listen to it, I'm kind of like, do I like this? Do I not like this? Is this my cup of tea? Is it not, sort of thing? But it's not awful. It is some. I think it works in context of the full EP, but I don't know if I enjoy it. So, with that being said, let's see what we've got. Since I can't really do a top 4 tracks for each EP, I'm going to give you a list of my best to least favourite tracks. So we'll start off with Spiritbox and move on. So for Spiritbox, the Rotoscope EP, I would say the best track was easily the third and final track, Hysteria, which I would probably give at least an 8 out of 10. Okay sort of song would be the first song, Rotoscope, which I would probably give a 5 out of 10. And my least favourite on the EP was Sew Me Up, which is probably a 4 out of 10 for me. Moving on to the Mirelore Underworld EP, the best track in my opinion was Sulfuric Nullity, which I would probably give about an 8.5 out of 10. The okay track, so like the second best, was Shadows Have Eyes, the opening track, which would, like, if the other one was like an 8.5, this would probably be like a 7.5. Then the third one would be Ashen Memories, which would probably be about a 6 for me. And then my least favourite would be Black Box, which is about a 4.5 to a 5 out of 10. So yeah, with that being said, this is a slightly shorter video, but I will be back again soon, hopefully with a 6-song roundup and an album review. So with that being said, don't forget I stream occasionally over on my Twitch, Raven7131. But over there, if you hang around, earn some Raven coins, you can actually get your own video. You can give me a song or an album or a set of songs, and I will review them and do a video for you, and like shout you out on the YouTube. And with that being said, I think that is everything, and I will see you again in the next video. And remember, stay safe out there, my friends.